4 years ago, on 22nd July 2019, India initiated the ambitious lunar exploration mission Chandrayaan 2 under the Indian Space Research Organization called ISRO.
3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Named after Indian space program founder Vikram, the lander had a mission to soft land near the moon's south pole and deploy a robotic rover on its surface. Sadly, on September 7, 2019, during the anticipated landing, ISRO lost connection with Vikram when it was a mere 335 meters away from the lunar surface. Unfortunately, the lander failed to make a soft landing and it crash landed at the south pole. The lander and the rover got damaged and destroyed.
देश आप पर गर्व करता है और आपकी इस मेहनत ने बहुत कुछ सिखाया भी।
After 4 years, Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft with an orbiter, lander and a rover lifted off at 2:35 on Friday 14th July from Sriharikota Space Center. With the launch of Chandrayaan 3, ISRO is set to make its second attempt to land a spacecraft on the moon. If Chandrayaan 3 is successful, the craft will deploy a rover near the moon's south pole this month. And India will become only the fourth country behind the United States, the former Soviet Union and China to manage to control a lunar landing. Now let's dive in and try to understand how significant is this Chandrayaan 3 is going to be and how it is going to help India for the long term for space exploration industry.
India's space agency has just launched a rocket that will attempt to land a robotic rover on the moon.
We start with a historic mission to the moon and the launch of India's Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft.
Aims to touch down on the moon's largely unexplored south pole.
The space organization ISRO began in a church of a small village in Kerala. Organized space research led by two scientists, Dr. Homi Bhabha and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. Sarabhai's dream was to develop space technology for India which he could use for the interest for the country. And he got inspiration when Russia launched Sputnik 1 satellite in 1957. For a country like India, developing expensive space technology was a great challenge. But despite of all these challenges, Dr. Homi Bhabha and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai met Prime Minister Nehru and convinced him to invest in space. Finally, in 1962, under the leadership of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, India National Committee of Space Research, aka INCOSPAR, was founded. Now before we move on, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It will help me and the YouTube algorithm to reach out to more people. Owing to Dr. Sarabhai's effort, NASA agreed to sign an agreement to lend their rocket Nike Apache rocket to India. Now the objective of INCOSPAR was to successfully launch the rocket, but they required a space station for the launch. Now long story short, in search of a launching station, Dr. Sarabhai scouted several locations around the country and finally he reached a small fisherman's village called Thumba. When NASA's rocket was brought, everyone saw an unique scene. Our scientists were bringing rocket parts on a cycle. On 21st November 1963, at 6:25 p.m., the launch countdown began. India finally launched their first rocket successfully. Now the question is, what is a rocket? A rocket can be a spacecraft, a missile, aircraft and other vehicle that obtains thrust from its engine. It's made of various lights and very strong materials like aluminium and titanium. Now the first component is the payload system. The payload of a rocket is carrying the capacity. The payload can be used for different purposes for an organization. It can consist of a satellite, a cargo, even a spacecraft carrying humans. In this case of LVM-3, the payload system has the lander module carrying the rover which will be deployed on the lunar surface. Now I'm not going much deeper into details because it's, rocket science. Let's move on. Next is the guidance system. The system ensures the rocket stays on its intended trajectory and goes where it's supposed to go. And last is the propulsion system. And this system helps to push forward the rocket itself. And you remember guys, the Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And that's where the rocket engine comes into play. The rocket engine works by burning either liquid and solid fuel in the presence of an oxidizer. Since the rocket pushes the exhaust down, the rocket responds by pushing at a great speed as well. Now this Chandrayaan 3 mission is aiming to be the first to land near its little explored South Pole. The South Pole of the Moon is still largely unexplored. The surface area that remains in shadow, and it is much larger than the Moon's North Pole, which means that there is possibility of water in areas that were permanently shadowed. Chandrayaan was the first to discover water on Moon in 2008 near the South Pole. Now this is the very critical fact. Now a mission like Chandrayaan is a global collaborative mission. Now what do I mean by that is, even though it's an indigenous mission, ISRO collaborates with other space agencies and with the other countries in building the space technologies. ISRO has very close collaborations with the NASA of the United States of America, with the European agencies, with Japan, and even with the Roscosmos that belongs to Russia. ISRO works closely with these countries and global space agencies in developing these technologies. Especially the south polar region of the Moon is of great interest because that is the only region that is hidden from the sunlight. So it has a lot of hydrogen, water, and ice that dates back to millions and billions of years. Now this is why such missions serve important scientific purpose and promotes international collaborations, and more importantly, it serves socio-economic purpose. Today, India is privatizing the space sector, allowing for private participation, and ISRO is outsourcing the technology so that the production can happen in the private sector. The startups featured are Skyroot Aerospace, Dhruva Space and Pixel, all of which are among a cluster of startups that have been actively and closely working with the ISRO. In Hyderabad, the working loft is occupied by Dhruva Space, which deploys satellite and was India's first space startup.
Hyderabad-based space tech startup Dhruva Space creates a history. It became the first privately owned Indian firm to build satellites. Its two satellites THYBOLT-1 and Thibault-2 were launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota.
Now when we are talking about space startups, there is one market leader that is located in the United States of America called SpaceX. SpaceX propelled India's startup energies towards space.
Ignition and liftoff.
The company was founded in 2002 by tech entrepreneur Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and to colonize Mars. The company manufactures the Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy and Starship Heavy Lift launch vehicles. The company is also developing Starship, which is a Mars-bound rocket, which is also fully reusable and super heavy lift launch system for interplanetary and orbit space.
Stage 1, Falcon leg deployed.
That was as smooth as I'd seen it. We had phenomenal shots all the way through the landing burn. You heard the sonic booms. This booster has landed for the 8th time. That is the 89th recovery of an orbital.
Since June 2020, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a push for space sector, opening it up for all kinds of space enterprise, India has launched a network of businesses, each driven by original research and homegrown talent. Last year, the space startups ranked in $120 million in new investments at a rate that is doubling and tripling every year. For its first 3 decades, Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO made the country proud. Now India is not only India's most populous country, but it's also fastest growing large economy and a thriving center of innovation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this video, please share with your friends, like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.